One more minute. Service. Okay. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our Kabbalat Shabbat service tonight. We are thrilled to welcome you as we begin our celebration of Naomi Ffinch's bat mitzvah and welcome in the parsha Chayei Sarah. We will begin tonight with Shalom Aleichem, welcoming the angels to join with us on page 142. That's 142. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaSharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei HaMlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei HaMlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Baruchuni Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei HaMlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei HaMlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Let us turn to page 124, and let's read together. Let me get to the page first. May the doors in the middle of the page. May the doors of this synagogue be wide enough to receive all who hunger for love, all who are lonely for friendship. May it welcome all who have cares to unburden, thanks to express, hopes to nurture. May the door of this synagogue be narrow enough to shut out pettiness and pride, envy and enmity. May its threshold be no stumbling block to young or straying feet. May it be too high to admit complacency, selfishness, and harshness. May this synagogue be, for all who enter, the doorway to a richer and more meaningful life. We will continue with lighting the candles to welcome in Shabbat, and Naomi will be joined by her family. It is on page 120, and we have a tradition here of reading the Kavanah, the intention, on the left side of the page, 121, before lighting the candles.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, So may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light.
And now we welcome Naomi's family to join her in lighting the Shabbat candles.
I can't work it out. Okay.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen. Asher Kawa, thank you to family for joining Naomi, and now she will lead us in our second way to welcome in Shabbat by saying the blessing over the wine. And I apologize that before we began, I forgot to remind everyone of our minhag, our customs here at Temple Israel. We try to stay present, so we try to turn off all of our electronic devices, and we ask that pictures not be taken as we are praying together. We are on page 123.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh bereshit ki hu yom techila lemikra'e kodesh zecher litziat mitzrayim ki vanu bacharta ve'otanu kiddashta mikol hamim v'shabbat kodecha be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh
Shabbat. Amen. And now we welcome in the Sabbath bride with a traditional piyut, a prayer poem, Lecha Dodi, which can be found on page 138. We tend to chant the first, second, fifth, and final verse of Lecha Dodi together. 138. Lecha Dodi, likrat kala, penei Shabbat, nekabla, shamor v'zachor, bedibor echad, hishmianu el hamyuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, L'shem u'tiferet v'litila, lecha dodi likra kala, penei Shabbat nekabela, lecha dodi likra kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, ki hi mekor habracha, merosh mikedem nesucha, sof maaseh b'machshava techila. Lecha dodi likra kala, pene Shabbat nekabela, lechado dilikra kala, pene Shabbat nekabela, hitoreri, kiva orech kumi uri, shir daberi, kevod Adonai laich nigla, lecha dodi likra kala, pene Shabbat nekabela, lecha dodi likra kala, pene Shabbat nekabela. Please rise and face the entrance to our sanctuary for the 9th verse. Boi v'shalom ateret bala, gam b'simcha uv'tzala, toch emunei am segula, boi chala, lecha dodi likra kala, pene Shabbat nekabela, lecha dodi likra kala, pene Shabbat nekabela. Let us turn to page 145 and read together. 145. Teach me, O God, a blessing, a prayer, on the mystery of a withered leaf, on ripened fruit so fair, on the freedom to see, to sense, to breathe, to know, to hope, to despair. Teach my lips a blessing, a hymn of praise, as each morning and night you renew your days, lest my day be today as the one before, lest routine set my ways. We continue, and Naomi will lead us in the Chatzi Kaddish on page 144.
Yikadal ve'yikadash shemei Rabbah. Ve'alma divrach yirtei ve'amlich malchutei. Ve'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayedecho Beit Yisrael. Bagala, ubisman kariv, femeru.
Amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevorach, le'olam lo me'omaya, yitbarach.
Yitbarach, ve'yishtabach, ve'yitpa'ar, ve'yitromam, ve'yitnaseh, ve'yithadar, ve'yit'aleh, ve'yithalal, shemei dekucha.
Brichu.
Le'ela min kol birchota ve'shirata, tushbechata ve'nechemata, damiran be'alma, ve'meru.
Amen. Please rise and embody your spirit for our call to worship, the Baruch Hu, which can be found on page 146. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai.
Baruch Hu et Adonai hamevorach.
You may be seated. We continue in English with Ha'amariv Aravim together on the top of page 149. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai Hamari Varavim. We continue with the love sandwich, first acknowledging God's everlasting love for us with Ahavat Olam on page 150. Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael Amchavta Torah u'mitzvot chukim u'mishpatim otanu limadeta al ken Adonai Eloheinu b'shochbeinu v'kumeinu nasiach bechukecha v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha u'v'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed ki hem chayenu ve'orech yameinu uvahem negei yomam v'layla ve'ahavatecha al tasir mimenu le'olamim. Baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael. We respond to God's love by assuring our love for God with the Shema, which begins on page 152. If it is your custom to rise, please do so at this time.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod, Malchutanu le'olam va'ed.
You may be seated. We continue on page 154.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ושעותיך וקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם אלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Adonai Elohechem Emet. We continue at the top of page 157. Please join with us. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except from joining hands, marching together. We continue with Micha Mocha on page 158. Micha Mocha Bailim Adonai, Micha Mocha Nora tehilot osefele. Nora tehilot osefele. Malchutecha ra'u vanecha. Bokei ayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam. Zeli anu ve'amru Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai. Mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh. Nora tehilot osefele. Nora tehilot osefele. V'ne'emar ki fada Adonai et Yaakov. Ugalo miyad chazak mimenu. Baruch atah Adonai. Gal Yisrael, Gal Yisrael. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai. Mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh. Nora tehilot osefele. Nora tehilot osefele. And now we are going to turn to the end of our Siddur, page 646 for Miriam's song. And before we start, let us pass out our tambourines because we cannot sing and dance with Miriam without the tambourine. Apologies, we don't have enough for everyone, but I wanted to make sure all of the kids had one. So, we are on page 646, and it is entirely in English, so I hope you will join with us. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced the whole night long. And Miriam was a weaver of unique variety. The tapestry she wove was one which sang our history. With every thread and every strand she crafted her delight. A woman touched with spirit, she dances toward the light. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced the whole night long. As Miriam stood upon the shores and gazed across the seas, the wonder of this miracle she soon came to believe. Whoever thought the sea would part with an outstretched hand, and we would pass to freedom and march to the promised land. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced the whole night long. And Miriam the prophet took her timbrel in her hand, and all the women followed her, just as she had planned. And Miriam raised her voice in song, she sang with praise and might. We've just lived through a miracle, we're going to dance tonight. and danced the whole night long. Miriam and the women danced and danced the whole night long. And thank you to my youngest for reminding me that we should always sing that song. We continue with Hashkivenu in English on page 160. That is 160. Grant, O God, that we lie down, please join with me, that we lie down in peace and raise us up, our guardian, to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your good counsel. For your name's sake, be our help. Shield and shelter us beneath the shadow of your wings. Defend us against enemies, illness, war, famine, and sorrow. Distance us from wrongdoing. For you, God, watch over us and deliver us. For you, God, are gracious and merciful. Guard our going and coming to life and to peace evermore. Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. And now to continue our celebration of how good it is to celebrate Shabbat with each other, we continue with Vishamru on page 162. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asor et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asor et ha-Shabbat berit olam. Beini u'bnei Yisrael oti le'olam, oti le'olam, oti le'olam. Vishamru bnei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asor et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. Vishamru bnei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asor et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Vayom hashvi Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash. Vishamru bnei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asor et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. We continue with the intention before we begin our tefillah, our central prayer of our service. On page 165 in the middle of the page, please join with me. Prayer invites God's presence to suffuse our spirits, God's will to prevail in our lives. Prayer may not bring water to parched fields, nor mend a broken bridge, nor rebuild a ruined city. But prayer can water an arid soul, mend a broken heart, rebuild a weakened will. Please rise in body or spirit as Naomi leads us in the Amidah, beginning on page 164.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufiyah gitehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai
Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim Vekoneh Hakol Vezocher Chasdei Avot Be'imaot, Umevi Goel Lifnei Mehem Leman Shemo Be'ava, Melech Ozer Moshiach Umagen, Baruch Atah Adonai Megen Avraham Be'ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai Mechayeh Hakol Atah Rav Le'oshia, Mari Haruach Umari Hagashem. Mechachel Chaim Bechesed, Mechayeh Hakol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Berofeh Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umechayeh Emunasol, Yishenei Afar, Michamo Chabal Gedurot, Umidom Elav, Melech Menid Mechayeh, Umasiach Yeshua. V'neman atah lecha hayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai Mechayeh hakol.
Tav kadosh v'shimcha kadosh v'koshim b'chol yom Yehallelujah Selah Baruch atah Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh. Please continue individually with the words on the page or the words in your heart until page 180. When you feel complete in your discussion with the divine, you may be seated. Ose shalom bimromav, uyase shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yishvei tevel, ve'imru, imru, amen. Yase shalom, yase shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. With our hearts cracked open, we pray for healing of body and spirit for those for whom we know are in need of healing. I will read the names of those we know from our community and then open it up to additional names. If you are watching on YouTube or Facebook, please don't hesitate to email office@templeisraelalameda.org to add a name for prayers of healing. We are praying this week for Joyce Salinas, Svetlana Lazovic, Fartak Chang, Elaine Kaufman, Samantha Shalush, Jason Brooks, and Jean-Pierre Shalush. Are there others whom we are praying for? Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. The Mishiberach can be found on page 371. Mishiberach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misheberach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Amen. Naomi, I think I want to keep your family here with us to increase the holiness of our prayers. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. As mentioned earlier, we are in the book of Genesis, and our portion this week is Chayei Sarah, which translates to the life of Sarah. So, of course, as is normal, the name of the portion does not always follow what is actually in the portion. So it's called the life of Sarah, and then in the first paragraph of the portion, Sarah dies. And then the rest of the portion is about meeting our foremother Rivka and how she comes to be chosen to be Isaac's bride. And you'll hear more about that tomorrow morning from our bat mitzvah. She will explain it all. But it's always interesting the way that it's the only portion that is named after one of our female ancestors, and yet like the whole of the Torah, it is told from the male perspective, and also, like I said, she dies. So, like some other people in the room, my Hebrew name is Sarah, so it is interesting to see how our foremother is described, both in the Torah portion and in the commentary on it. One of the reasons I think that I was most open to a mystical understanding of Judaism is that the plain sense of our stories can't hold all that I am, that I can't just follow men and their decisions for the whole of our community. I'm constantly looking for the ins and outs of that. So one of the ways that people renewed themselves in their belief in Judaism was by the study of the Zohar, which was found in the Middle Ages. At the time, it was said to have been written during the time of the Talmud, and just discovered. Of course, academics will tell you that it was actually written in the Middle Ages. In any case, the fascinating thing about it is that many people have written books that are commentary on the Torah portions, and yet this one made its way through all of Judaism. So from its start in France through all of Europe and into the Middle East. All of our ancestors came to frame their mystical understanding of Judaism through the lens of Zohar and the traditions that followed it. So one of the things that it says in its commentary on this portion is that Sarah's life endured. What is different here about Sarah, whose death is described in the Torah, unlike all other women of the world whose death is not described? Rabbi Chia said, "No, look at what it is written. Rachel died and she was buried on the road to Ephrat," which I liked that it said that because our next B'nai Mitzvah has more in common with Rachel and her sons. And similarly, Miriam died there and was buried there. And similarly, Deborah, Rebekah's nurse, died. And similarly, Shua's daughter, the wife of Judah, died. Rabbi Yosei replied, "Of none of them is written what is written of Sarah. Sarah's life endured 100 years and 20 years and 7 years, the years of Sarah's life. Regarding none of them are days and years enumerated, as with Sarah. To none of them is an entire portion devoted as to Sarah. But it is a mystery by virtue of the rung upon which depend all human days and years." In the commentary on the plain text of the Zohar, it explains that the rung upon which, where it says, "But it is a mystery by virtue of the rung upon which depend all human days and years, that the Shekhinah, the divine feminine, symbolized by the matriarch Sarah, conveys and regulates the gift of life. The significance of the numbers 100, 20, and 7 is clarified below, which it clarifies that the first is about Chokhmah and Bina. Chokhmah and Bina is the 20. The 7 relates to the 7 lower sefirot, and the 100 is Keter, the holiest emanation of the divine. So that within Sarah's life, you see the extent of which can be described of the divine essence in human terms. And it's a really, and Shekhinah means indwelling, the indwelling of the divine. So it was said that God, through as Shekhinah dwelled in Sarah's tent, and that we were in exile from the Shekhinah when Sarah died, and then the Shekhinah came and dwelled with us again when Rivka went and settled in Sarah's tents. The other interesting thing about this is how much, if you really dig in, a thinking, scientifically minded young person will question all of the stories of what it means to believe in God. That the way God has been described in popular culture and in the stories that we've learned of the Bible, and perhaps even the way that God is described in the poetry of our prayers, is not quite realistic to a rational mind. And so one of my greatest joys, truly my greatest joy in being the rabbi of Temple Israel, is the opportunity to study for 3 months with each of our B'nai Mitzvahs. And particularly with Naomi, because it is always interesting to learn with someone who is completely at home in being Jewish and yet constantly questioning, but I don't believe in God, or I'm not sure I believe in God. What are you really meaning with this word God? And so this is the God that I believe in. I know it's kind of sounds very strange to many people, especially if you are of a rational bent, but the idea that there are values that we can hold on to, and that particularly the indwelling of all of giving birth and of the gift of life, right? That we need to hold on to the holiness of each soul that surrounds us, and that we are each infinitely important. And that when you combine the indwelling surety of Sarah with the chesed, the loving kindness that Rivka she shows it through her actions throughout this Torah portion. It is such a powerful combination of ways in which to live into our deepest selves, because instead of holding on to cynicism and questioning because of all that goes on in the world that we have no power over, we can look to our ancestors for wisdom in terms of how we can make a difference in the world. That through acts of loving kindness, and particularly by taking care of everyone, not just the humans around us, but also the animals, and recognizing when anyone, whether it is an animal or a human, is thirsty, that is holiness, and that is being the most like God that we can possibly be. And that, more so than any overarching narrative, I love stories. I know that is how we connect with one another and form bonds of peoplehood. But more than living into the stories, it's living into the goodness that is shown to us by our ancestors that holds me enraptured by our tradition. And I hope to continue exploring with more and more of our young people to come. So, Shabbat Shalom. And now we will continue with one of our board of directors, Shelley Rosenfeld, will share with us some of our announcements.
Hello, Shabbat Shalom. Thank you for joining us this evening. We hope to see you tomorrow at 10:30 as well for Naomi's Bat Mitzvah service. On Sunday at 6 p.m., the next weekly session of the Jewish Community Online Support Group, moderated by Sarah Fisher Sanford, LCSW, will meet via Zoom. The link to receive the Zoom invite is on our website, this week's TI Times, and on our Facebook page. As a reminder, we will not be hosting Shabbat service on November 29th or 30th due to Thanksgiving. Shabbat services will resume on December 6th, led by Rabbi Minster, and on December 13th, led by Allison Harris. Our book club is now reading James, a novel by Percival Everett. Discussion will be Monday, December 16th at 7 p.m. via Zoom.
Thank you. Naomi, can you join me to lead us in Aleinu on page 586? That's at the back of the book because it ends all of our services, page 586. If you are in a time of mourning or observing a yahrzeit, if you could come to the bima to open the ark, we would appreciate it, and please rise in body or spirit. And we read the traditional beginning of the Aleinu at the bottom of the page, and then skip a few pages to 591 for the end. Aleinu v'shabeach l'adon hakol, v'tekin la'leotzer reshi, shelo asanu kiryeh haratzot, v'lo samonu v'mishtakot hadama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, v'go You may be seated. We extend our condolences to the families in our congregation who are grieving the passing of these loved ones during the last 12 months. I apologize that they are not broken down in the last 30 days. In the last 30 days, we are remembering Rona O-Ring, Adeline Spiker, and Arlen Golko. Is there anyone else we are remembering in the last 30 days? In the last year, we are remembering Lee Soskin, Henry Saunders McCoy Jr., Karen Ogerzalek, Lynn Sung Shostak, Linda Minster, Bruce King, Karen Bell, Phyllis First, Kenneth Kaufman, Marshall Minster, Mark Klein, Dick Levine, Barbara Choate, Carol Foreman, Scarlett Lehman, and Brian James Newberg. Is there anyone else who passed in the last year that we are remembering? Our hearts join those who are mourning the loss of loved ones at this season in years past. We remember people on the anniversary of their death because it is the fullness of their lives that we wish to remember and to act as they did. That is why we say, may their memories be for a blessing, that we be blessed by doing the blessings that they did in their lives. The Yortzites this week are Selma Mervis Young, Lillian Margolis, David Benisti, Lee Soskin, AJ Pastor, and Alita Zolot. Are there any other Yortzites that we are remembering this week? The Mourner's Kaddish can be found on page 598. If you are in a time of mourning or observing a Yortzeit, please rise. And if it is your custom to rise for those who do not have someone to say the Kaddish for them, please do so at this time. Page 598. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah be'alma divrach hirute v'amlich malchute B'chayechon uvyomechon uvchayei dechol beit Yisrael ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevorach leolam olamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudesha b'richu. Le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata, tush b'chata v'nechemata, da'amiram be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Zichronam livracha, may their memories be for a blessing. You may be seated. We will conclude our service tonight with Ein Kamocha, which can be found on page 626. And for those here in the sanctuary, we welcome you to join us for our oneg hosted by the Ffinch family in honor of Naomi's bat mitzvah. In the social hall directly after our closing song, page 626. Ein Eloheinu, Ein Kadonenu, Ein Kimolkeinu, Ein Kmoshienu, Mi Eloheinu, Mi Chadonenu, Mi Chemolkeinu, Mi Chmoshienu. Nodel Eloheinu, Nodel Adonenu, Nodel Malkeinu, Nodel Moshienu, Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu, Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu. Shabbat Shalom. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow at 10:30. Of course. My pleasure.